Hello and welcome to the 8-man hard mode Master Styrak boss fight guide. My name's Hayete, and today I'll be covering everything you need to know to successfully complete the final fight in the Scum and Villainy operation. For this encounter, we suggest you bring a standard composition of 2 tanks, 4 DPS, and 2 healers. Any class composition will be more than capable of beating this fight. So unlike most of my guides, I'll be excluding the DPS analysis for this one. With this guide being released so close to the launch of Knights of the Eternal Throne, I'd rather not waste your time covering figures that will be out of date in 12 days. I do intend on releasing updated DPS analysis and figures after the expansion launches, so be sure to check back with the channel for those videos. So with that said, let's move on. Similar to my last guide, I'm going to cover the mechanics and fight strategy together, in an attempt to better streamline what is going on in the fight and make it less confusing. Hopefully, this will work better to guide those of you who may be very inexperienced with this encounter, or may be seeing it for the first time. As you enter the area, you'll notice 20 ads displayed in front of you. These ads will need to be cleared before the fight can begin. Make sure you do not pull all of these ads together, or you will absolutely die. Have your tank start by attacking any of the silver ads in the first row. The best way to deal with these ads is to wait and let them come to you. Once they've been pulled far enough away from the rest of the ads, you can engage them. Your primary focus as a DPS player should be on the Dreadguard Officer, the gold ad. This ad casts an ability called Dark Infusion that will constantly channel if allowed to complete, essentially healing the other ads continuously. Make sure this ability is interrupted and the ad is killed ASAP. Something to note with this ad is that as soon as it takes damage, it will stop moving and begin casting Dark Infusion. For this reason, ensure you do not attack this ad until you can safely engage and interrupt it. You'll repeat this process for all 4 ad rows. As the last set of ads is defeated, Styrak's Kill Dragon will leap to the ground floor. Have one of your tanks immediately pick up the dragon and turn it away from the group. Shortly after landing, the dragon will place a vomit pool at the feet of his current target. Your tank should simply sidestep out of this. Any player standing in this will take constant damage over time. These pools will not despawn until the dragon is defeated. Our recommendation for dealing with these is to start on the outer edge of the area and stack these pools close together. Once you reach the other side of the area, you can start to make your way back to your original position, essentially zigzagging and stacking the pools as you go. Be sure, however, to avoid standing in the water, as you'll take a huge amount of damage over time and be slowed. The dragon will additionally utilize a 15-second channel called Spines. During this channel, the dragon takes 90% less damage from all sources. During this channel, the closest person to the dragon will take all damage associated with the spines. For this reason, we highly suggest having your current tank standing the closest and having all other raid members behind this person. Spines does a substantial amount of damage to DPS and healers, so make sure that your tank is always the closest. Immediately after Spines ends, the dragon will drop a vomit pool on his current target. So if you're the tank, prepare for this ahead of time and be at the location you want the pool to be dropped. The last ability to make note of for the dragon is Leap Slam. This is a raid-wide AoE attack. There is really no strategy for this attack, but I wanted to make sure you're aware of it, so when it happens, especially for the healers, you'll know what it is. While dealing with the dragon, you'll also have Styrak apparitions spawning in the area periodically. These ads alternate between 2 attacks. The first is a 30-second channel called Charge. During this channel, the ad will be placing a stacking debuff on the dragon. Shortly after the conclusion of this channel, or when the ad is killed, the dragon will convert all stacks of charge into a raid-wide AoE attack called Overcharge. These stacks cap out at 20 stacks, and the damage will affect all players within 15 meters of the dragon. The second ability used by the apparition is Force Choke. This ability in itself does 0 damage, but targets and pulls the current target of the dragon to it. When this happens, ensure it is called out and your tanks conduct a tank swap. Regardless of what ability is being used, these apparitions should be killed ASAP. So you'll cycle through these mechanics until the dragon is defeated, at which point you'll enter Phase 2 of the fight. As Phase 2 starts, Styrak will channel Mass Force Storm. This is unavoidable raid-wide AoE damage, so gather your group near the center of the area and just heal through it. As the channel ends, Styrak will appear on the ground floor. Ensure one of your tanks immediately picks up Styrak and turns him away from the raid. Styrak will periodically use an ability called Thundering Blast. This is a frontal conal attack that does a high amount of damage to anyone caught in its path. Styrak will periodically cast an ability called Nightmare Manifestation. As this channel ends, a random player will be ported into a room and will face one of their companions. The player selected will need to either defeat their companion to leave, or wait the 15-second duration. Once you leave the nightmare, you'll be ported back to the center of the area. Styrak will periodically channel another ability called Force Pull. This ability is always directed at his current target and will pick up and throw his current target about 180 degrees behind him. Tanks should keep this in mind, as you do not want to get thrown into the water and take unnecessary damage. Additionally, you do not want to get thrown towards the throne area, as getting too close will cause you to die instantly. Regardless, when Force Pull happens, ensure your tanks do a tank swap. The next two abilities I'm about to cover are the ones that require the most attention, and the ones most raid groups mess up. So if you take anything away from this guide, be sure it's these two. The first is Chained Manifestation. This is a channeled ability by Styrak that, once completed, causes Styrak to leave the area and spawn 5 adds. These 5 adds will always produce the same configuration: a big apparition in the middle, and 4 connected to one another on the outer edges of the area. The 4 adds will begin walking towards the large apparition in the middle. If these adds reach the large apparition, your group will die instantly. Additionally, any player that touches the energy beams connecting the 4 outer adds will die instantly. This mechanic is essentially a DPS check. As this mechanic starts, have all raid members stack on the large apparition and burn it down. Keep in mind that Nightmare Manifestation can overlap into this mechanic, which means you could potentially have a player trapped in a nightmare with their companion unable to assist in the DPS race to burn down the large apparition. So again, as this mechanic initiates, have all raid members stack and burn down the add. Immediately after Chain Manifestation ends, Styrak will reappear, and shortly after, channel Lightning Manifestation. Again, Styrak will leave the room, and 4 adds will spawn. These adds will spawn in these locations. Most groups refer to these adds as entrance side, throne side, left side, and right side. When these adds spawn, you need to split your group and engage them immediately. Our suggested method is to assign 1 DPS to each and then split your healers and tanks accordingly. Regardless, you'll have 5 seconds to DPS these adds with no damage taken. Afterwards, these apparitions will fixate on their current target and start casting Chain Lightning non-stop, which does a fairly large amount of damage. Once you kill these 4 adds, Styrak will reappear. You'll cycle through these mechanics until Styrak's health drops below 15%, at which time you'll push into Phase 3. As Phase 3 initiates, Styrak will start to channel Conjured Kill Dragon. At its conclusion, another Kill Dragon will enter the area. The dragon should be immediately picked up by your tank. This dragon only has 1 attack, Leap Slam, so your entire raid group will take constant AoE damage during this. Additionally, the dragon will be placing a stacking debuff on its current target called Shredding Claws, that increases all damage taken per stack. So when the dragon comes out, you again will find yourself in a DPS race. You need to burn down the dragon ASAP. If you have any raid buffs, I highly suggest using them on the dragon. Tanks should tank swap at about 3 to 4 stacks of Shredding Claws depending on how comfortable your healers are with the damage going out. As the dragon dies, Styrak will heal for approximately 10% of his total health, and instantly knock back his last target. Styrak's damage output here is dramatically increased, so make sure healers are focused on the tanks and ready to respond to large spike damage. Tanks should also be using any applicable defensives to mitigate the damage. Due to the knockbacks by Styrak, We highly suggest at 30% health on the dragon, you bring your entire group back to the wall directly under the bridge at the place where you entered the area. Having all players up against this wall will help keep you from getting thrown all over the place as you transition from the dragon to Styrak. Tanks will need to taunt swap here almost on cooldown, so make sure that if you're tanking, you're paying close attention to your target of target and communicating taunts with your co-tank. Essentially, this is another DPS race, so just burn down Styrak as quickly as possible. Alright, so I want to very quickly give you some information to make note of for this fight. The enrage time on this encounter is 8 minutes. There is quite a bit of disinformation around the community on if this enrage time starts as soon as you engage the 4 waves of adds or the Kill Dragon. Through testing, we found it to be as soon as the Kill Dragon enters the area. This is something I've heard debated for years, so now you know and you can help set the record straight. Second, the 8-minute enrage is only tied to Styrak himself. The first Kill Dragon and all adds will not enrage if Styrak is enraged. The second Kill Dragon, however, will benefit from Styrak's enrage and beat your face in. So that's the fight, guys. This fight is fairly lengthy and can be a lot to take in if you're seeing it for the first time or have little experience with it. Again, the 2 things I see messed up here the most are Chain Manifestation and Lightning Manifestation. Generally, groups capable of nailing down these 2 mechanics have little issue beating this fight. So if this video has been helpful, please consider hitting that like button since we use that as a measure of how well these guides are being received by the SWTOR community. If you have any questions, comments, or just think of something I may have missed, go ahead and post that stuff down in the comment section below. Also, if you guys have any ideas for content or information you'd like me to cover here on the channel, please post those as well, and definitely subscribe so you'll be the first to know of new content as it's released. Alright guys, I'll see you all in 5.0, so until then, take care and enjoy the fight.
Obey me, beast. Fight on! A beautiful creature. It will be avenged. You will fall. Now you'll see real power! power! Mere smoke. Now taste fire. Are you ready to obey? Submit or die! Now you'll see real power! Dear smoke, now taste fire. Brothers and sisters, grant me power! This broke the beast. It will break you. You are nothing. You will fall. Submit or die! One lost. 5 remain.